friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and God2, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
Heartbroken Groom recalls the last words of woman killed on wedding day. Written by Mel Johnson, read by Adam Staten. Samantha Miller, a woman killed on her wedding day at Folly Beach, never expected till death do us part to come so soon. But a horrible tragedy took her from this world just hours after she spoke her vows. And now, her heartbroken husband, Eric Hutchinson, is speaking out about the horrible incident that robbed the couple of their bright future. Samantha's and Eric's wedding day started out beautifully. It was the best day of her life, Samantha's sister, Maddie Jenkins, recalled. Surrounded by friends and family at Folly Beach, South Carolina, the two promised to honor, cherish, and love one another for the rest of their lives. Sadly, though, the life of Samantha Miller would end just a few hours later. A joyous wedding reception followed the beach ceremony, and then guests sent the newlyweds off in style, surrounding them with sparklers. The husband and wife hopped into a golf cart with two other family members and left the reception. It was a truly beautiful moment for Samantha Miller and Eric Hutchinson. The two thought they were now beginning the rest of their lives together. They had already excitedly discussed purchasing a home together and starting a family. But a vehicle struck their golf cart just 2 blocks before Samantha and Eric made it home. The car reportedly plowed into the golf cart at 60 miles per hour in a 25 miles per hour zone, with the driver allegedly at a blood alcohol content of 0.261%, 3 times the legal limit in South Carolina. The impact sent the golf cart flying, causing it to roll several times. The crash seriously injured Eric and his brother-in-law Benjamin, and nephew Brogan. As for Samantha, she tragically died at the scene of the accident. Mandy, the sister of the woman killed on her wedding day, recalls hearing sirens as she sat outside on the balcony at the nearby place where she was staying. We were in our pajamas sitting on the balcony and started to hear the sirens, she said, and the sirens kept going. She texted Samantha to make sure she was okay. When she got no response, Mandy and her mother, Lisa, went out to investigate, and what they discovered was the worst thing they could have imagined. We just went down to the scene, and we were just out of the truck and just running, screaming, "Sam, Sam," Lisa recalled. While Eric cannot remember the crash itself, he can remember the moments just before the tragedy occurred. "The last thing I remember her saying is she wanted the night to never end," he said through tears of anguish. "That's the last thing she said to me." Eric came into the hospital after the incident and immediately asked about his wife, and that's when his mother had to tell him about the incident and her tragic death. Eric suffered many injuries, including 2 broken legs and broken bones in his face and back. He's undergone multiple surgeries, but nothing hurts as bad as losing the love of his life, Samantha. "I'm still trying to wrap my head around it," he explained. "That night, going on an all-time high to an all-time low, it's pretty rough to comprehend." Since the accident, the family of the woman killed on her wedding day has been speaking out against drunk driving. That person made a careless mistake. It's not a mistake. It's a life-changing event, Mandy said. And as Samantha's widower, Eric has filed a wrongful death suit against the drunk driver and several of the establishments that continued serving her alcohol. Though justice will not bring Samantha back, it will hopefully prevent others from suffering a tragedy like this. And now, the family starts the difficult journey of moving on without their loved one. Eric and at least 100 others gathered at Folly Beach to honor Samantha's memory by throwing flowers into the sea. Samantha's name was written on each stem, and it brought Eric some comfort knowing the send-off is one that would have pleased his late wife. She would have loved it, he said. "This is Sam. I mean, she's a beach girl through and through. We do walk here almost every morning, and this is her send-off for sure. She's up there smiling for sure." Our prayer is that God will provide comfort through this difficult time to Eric and all those who love Samantha.
Hey friend, do you ever feel like the busyness of life makes it hard to slow down and truly connect with Jesus? Do your priorities and passions feel jumbled and out of whack? Then join me this summer on my podcast, How to Study the Bible, as we dive into Spiritual Rhythms, a 6-week series that will lead us through 6 spiritual rhythms to help us slow down and make space for Jesus in the busyness of everyday life. To guide us, I've put together a free downloadable 6-week study available at NicoleEunice.com/spiritual practices. The study will walk us through God's Word as we learn to embrace daily practices that draw us closer to Jesus. Each week on the podcast, we'll walk through one spiritual rhythm that helps us discover how to spend intentional time with God, align our passions and balance our priorities, and make time and space for restfulness and celebration. Download Spiritual Rhythms for free today at NicoleEunice.com/spiritual practices, and I'll see you on How to Study the Bible.
The Historical Jesus Podcast is the sweeping saga of the life and times of Galilean Jesus of Nazareth, as well as the faith, religion, and church founded to honor and disseminate his acts and teachings. Join me, Mark Vinette, on this fascinating journey through time, exploring the many great works of Christian theology, literature, architecture, music, and art inspired by the words and deeds of Jesus Christ.
Nine-year-old girl from Illinois went missing in 2017. Then store owner recognizes her years later. Written by Adam Staten, read by Adam Staten. One person who is a fan of a popular Netflix series helped authorities locate a girl from Illinois who had been missing for years in North Carolina. Crimes that involve children are always some of the most difficult to read and hear about. Children are some of the most vulnerable members of society. As such, most people could not imagine subjecting children to abuse. Other cases involving children who have been missing for years generally do not end with the best result. Luckily, one child, Kayla Unenbaum, who had been missing since 2017, has been found in a North Carolina store. She is now set to be reunited with her father. However, the big break in the case came because someone watched a program on Netflix. While in a Plato's Closet, the store's owner recognized the child. That's because the person had viewed a 2022 episode of Unsolved Mysteries, which featured Kayla. In July 2017, then 9-year-old Kayla was kidnapped by her non-custodial mother, Heather Unenbaum. According to a social media post, it was the fan of Unsolved Mysteries who called the police. Heather was taken into custody. Prior to Kayla's abduction, she was in Illinois with her mother, who had only visitation rights. But when her father, who had custody of Kayla, went to pick her up, Kayla and Heather were nowhere to be found. Kayla's father, Ryan Izurka, praised and thanked law enforcement in the search for his daughter in a statement. "I'm overjoyed that Kayla is home safe. I want to thank the South Elgin Police Department, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and all the law enforcement agencies who assisted with her case." Ryan also thanked those people on social media for their efforts. "I also want to thank all the followers on the Bring Kayla Home Facebook page who helped keep her story alive and were instrumental in spreading awareness. This was a case law enforcement had been working on for years." "Super happy," said the chief of the South Elgin Police Department. "You know, even last week we were still working on this case. I was talking to the detectives about it, and they were trying to follow leads with U.S. Marshals. Thank God this missing child case ended with the best possible result, a recovered and saved child."
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.
Is life feeling chaotic? I get it. I'm Rachel Wojo, host of the Untangling Life podcast. Don't miss the passionate encouragement and faith-based resources you need to help you clear your head and calm your heart. As Shell says, it feels like Rachel always knows what I need to hear. She keeps it real and is so humble. Her podcast is just the cherry on top. Enjoy Untangling Life with Rachel Wojo on lifeaudio.com or your favorite podcast app now.